the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. Now, before we jump into the charts, I do want to highlight right now, your volume is still very, very low. You had good volume on Friday, kind of at least picking up, not really on the trend, but still picking up, and then kind of just dead volume yesterday and today. Now, we jump back into the charts and we look at a few things here. You can see you're clearly above 2021 previous highs, which are really right about this range right here, 17.95 locally, about right there. But you're moving very well over that level, right? Now, we also talked yesterday as well, saying you have kind of a clear shot into 18.37, 18.35. And you're slowly but surely headed up into that overall range. If you look at the action so far, it hasn't been the prettiest, hasn't been the cleanest, but you're still making higher highs and higher lows on the 2 hour, 4 hour, 1 hour, etc. to the upside. So those are things that you like to see. On the other side of this as well, we go to ES, the S&P 500. You're breaking above some major levels as well, pushing into our next ones around 20 or 52.12, and you're kind of just sitting there. Like, if you look at the broad movement here on the market today, I want to highlight on the S&P futures. We'll go into SPY here in a second. Now, you can see with the volume that there's basically no surge of volume for the better part of the day, but you're really just sitting in about a 10-point range trading on futures. That's just like nuts. So today, like, if you traded a while today, like, congratulations, you played yourself. But yeah, very concerning. You go into SPY, SPY's basically sitting in our tight little range of our key levels we talked about, 518.2, right? And I didn't think this level would be that big, but again, at about a dollar range all day long on SPY, up and down, just trending back and forth. So nothing good, not great movement. Like, if you didn't make money today, like, congratulations. Like, at least you didn't lose any money. That's the biggest thing you should take from this. Now, again, we can look at the trend and what's happening here, and it's very important to understand, like, when we look at volume, like, we're well below our average volume, okay? And this also comes back into the economic calendar. There's just not a lot going on this week. We talked a lot about that as well. You had a Fed member speak. You're going to have some more Fed members speaking, but I don't think they're going to highly influence the market either. You have some mortgage rates tomorrow. That's not that big in my opinion. Some more Fed speakers. And you have your little auction, which will move the market for about 30 minutes. But you don't really get anything until tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, which is Thursday, when you get some jobless claims. The market will care a lot about what's happening with jobless and the unemployment data that's coming in there. And you have some data coming in on Friday. So Friday, Thursday, I expect some data, but again, don't expect too much. And again, when we look at the volume, it's definitely, on this side of, don't worry too much because no one's really doing anything. So those are things to be looking at and what I'm looking at right now on the broad.
And now let's briefly talk about my favorite investing app and the sponsor of today's video. If you're interested in trading the exact same broker in which I'm using for options and what I'm doing market research on, this is exactly who I'm using. This is Moomoo. This is their platform on their desktop. You can also check it out for the mobile app as well. This is their live news feed. And if you're thinking about making the switch, right now is a pretty good time because right now they're doing a 1.5% cash reward up to $300 if you transfer in. Or if you're just getting started and you want to kickstart your journey, Moomoo is giving you 5 in each of the Magnificent 7 stocks when you make a qualified bonus. You can go down and scroll and see all of this. It's right there on their website. Check them out. The link is down below.
To equities specifically, again, you can see like the volume was just pretty piss poor. But all things considered, volume during the day was better than yesterday. So it's kind of hilarious to say that because it's something I always say. It's like you want to see breakout volume either on the breakout to the upside or a reversal, okay? You don't need to see volume getting or high volume for continuation. Like, you don't have to. It's just about specific times and where you're finding that volume. So that's really important to understand. But again, what I'm looking for here on SPY is a breakout of this zone and hopefully to get a push above 518.2. That's what you're looking for upside, a break, retest, and some continuation. If that happens, you can push closer into 424. I'll be totally honest. Qs, we go to our level. For the better part of the day, you were holding above our level. End of the day, you rejected underneath it. Again, just indecision happening here. If you get above 440, you have a lot of room back to the upside as well. You go to the 2 hour, you can clearly see, back into the 445, 446 range very easily into our Lux level. Also, if you're interested in getting our indicators, exactly what we're using every single day, the Lux levels, the volume buying versus selling, that link is down below. Use code OD40 for 40% off your first payment. So if you decide to pay for a yearly membership, you get 40% off. So use it while you can. But that's what we're looking at here. So all in all, I still think equities look good. Just a little bit of a stagnant day, nothing really happening. You got some selling, but you got no continuation off that selling, so I'm not really concerned. Another thing that I want to highlight is a bulk of the reason we were dropping wasn't really because any of this. I want to highlight this right now. We got some downside initially when the rates were kind of budged back based on what was happening from data. But the Fed or none of this data news really is what brought the S&P down. No matter what you want to think, like I don't really mind. Like you can go look at the data specifically and when data dropped. When you really started getting downside on the market was from the Israel-Iran conflict. Once that ended, we were like, fine. Like the weekend that ended, which was right here on the April 19th, that Friday, nothing else happened after that initial attack from Israel when they attacked back at Iran. And we've kind of bottomed since then. So I just want to highlight that I don't think the markets are pricing in bearish movement whatsoever right now. If anything, people will continue to be bullish and more bullish based on earnings specifically. So those are a few things I think you just need to keep in the back of your mind with a grain of salt. Okay. Now, really quick again, just giving you a heads up. I just want to clear this off so it's really easy to see. But really quick. Okay. Above 518, really bullish. But you got to be kind of patient until that happens. Also, too, Bitcoin, I'm very clear about this. You got to mount above 64K. We've been rejecting since essentially Saturday, at 1 a.m. So nothing's really happening there. Just sideways action, rejecting at support or resistance right now. Volume's been stagnant as well. But on the other side of this, though, I will say oil has been dropping. That is good news. We look at yields. Yields have been dropping as well since yesterday, breaking down, continuing to the downside. The dollar's got a little bit of upside. You've been bouncing at your support we mentioned yesterday, but we're looking for selling to incur to push back down below the 200 SMA. If that happens, I still think the market could get a lot of upside from that move as well, from a risk on versus risk off perspective on the broad market. So take that for what it is. Now, let's get into the best part of the video. The reason you come to the show, right? Equities. What do we like? NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been pretty tough. So really quick off of rip, okay? So I got to look a little scalp today, but nothing crazy on NVIDIA. But NVIDIA had downside initially today because of what was said from Apple. And so Apple basically came out, if you don't know, right, really quick, we can actually search this up, Apple AI chip, right? So Apple announced that they are working on a new chip, okay? And so what they're doing with this chip is for their AI chips, sorry, let's not go to YouTube and get in trouble, but they're looking on this new AI chip so they can power all of their data centers in-house, right? It would save extreme cost. I made a short video on this as well. It would be awesome for Apple, but I don't think it takes away from NVIDIA. Like, for instance, when we look at what Apple did with their M1 chip, right? They got rid of the middleman of Intel. Now, granted, Intel took a massive hit from this, right? And on the weekly, Intel has just never been the same since the M1 chip came out. It's been far weaker, okay? It has been. That's just the facts, okay? Now, the difference here with Apple making their own chip is NVIDIA doesn't necessarily do a lot of business with Apple. Like, very important to understand this. Like, and Apple is not giving their M1 chips to other individuals or other companies. So if they got into that business, I could see that being profitable. But like, I don't think this negatively affects NVIDIA. So I think NVIDIA sell today was kind of stupid. But still, above 906, I'm looking for upside back into 920, 918. Above 924 is where we get very, very bullish. Again, every time we've broken above 924, we've had monster moves. So if you break and hold 924 in like a 1 hour, 2 hour chart, I'm very bullish on NVIDIA. But until then, I'm being patient. Stock of the day was probably Amazon, one that I mentioned a few times yesterday. Once you get the break of that 188.7, this is your previous 2021 high, the yellow line. You broke and pushed all-time highs and made new highs all-time on Amazon, and then kind of came back down. So I don't think Amazon looks bad. I think Amazon looks good, but you're kind of just like finding your way here in the market, and you're mounting and end of the day above 2021 highs. That's a good note. Even though the Nasdaq and SPY end of the day kind of pulled back from their highs, worth mentioning. So Amazon still looks good. I'm looking for this to have a breakout. We'll see when it happens. But again, if I'm trading this, I'd like to have a little bit of time with you so I can actually let it run. Because if you get above 190 and start running, there's a chance you run at 192, 193, and you really want to let this run. You don't want to be influenced to sell too early. This brings me to my next one, Netflix. So if you guys don't follow on Twitter, again, that is totally up to you. That is your business if you don't follow on Twitter. But on Twitter, I try to keep you guys as updated as possible. And Netflix is one of the plays that I called out for free for you guys as well. May 4th, you can see, targeted both of these levels. Also called it out in Discord last week on Friday. So You did a breaking. You hit our target. You ran about $40 so far on Netflix. It looks really good. I think Netflix still is killing it. Their earnings were not bad whatsoever. You fill that illiquidity gap there as well. Meta was another one that I mentioned as well, but Meta's you still have about kind of crazy. You have about $17 to go to fill the gap. Meta above 469 has a lot of room. I could see it going into 474 and then locally 477 and then ultimately filling that gap back to the upside. So Meta, keep your eyes on it. I like it a lot. It looks very good. And I think it could get some continuation as well. AVGO, semiconductors in general. So you had your test of 1319, 1320 today. You need to break. You need to mount. You're just not getting that break and mount so far. That's just the problem. But once you do, you're going to look really good. A good sign here, too, is you have a name like AMD, which was pushing up for a better part of the day near 157, pushing into that 158 level. So worth mentioning that semis as a whole look good. When you go to the ETF, is SMH, and we look here like at the 4 hour or 2 hour, and you zoom out here. I mean, this is your line in the sand, like 218, 220. You're breaking, you're retesting. You look phenomenal here across the board on semis. So if the market gets any love, I think semis probably are going to be the bright spot, broad market per usual. But again, AVGO has that big trade opportunity. I think NVIDIA looks really good over 924. But those are my favorite semi names out there right now. Apple. Funny, we mentioned Apple. Now, Apple had their event today on the iPad. And they failed to ever surprise us. So they came out and said, guys, guess what? I should have saved this. This should have been the opening of the video. They're like, hey, guys, congratulations. This is our new iPad. We're releasing a new pencil. Yeah. Hope you really like the pencil, guys. Thank you, Apple. Apple dropped on that news. But again, you're still holding your 200 SMA over the 200 SMA. As long as you sit here, this is good. But I'm just being patient on Apple. I'm not rushing in here. There was no news that was extremely bullish on Apple for me, but we'll still see how we move and how we go from here. So that's what I'm watching right there. Broad market, those are my favorite things, what I'm looking at. Tomorrow, you do have Robinhood earnings. Obviously, I have some 2026, 2025 Robinhoods. You held your key level 16.5. You look fine. I like Robinhood a lot. Everyone's going to say, Tyler, are you trading their earnings? Well, technically I am since I have a dated position, but I love Robinhood, guys. I really do. I love the stock. I think it looks really good. I think they have a real potential, not just from the viewpoint of what crypto is doing, and it's after hours tomorrow, but also from the viewpoint of the deposits into their IRA accounts. So banks are losing on deposits and Robinhood's killing it on them. And I think they're going to be killing it even further. So I like Robinhood a lot. Looks very good. Overall, favorite names, what I'm looking at. Few names that I don't like trading right now. Microsoft, just in a range, really ugly. Google, it looks good. It's moving up. I just don't like trading where it's at because it's just been like you gapped up and then kind of slowly turning back up. Just not a huge fan of that right now. Just weird action. But those are my favorite names, what I'm looking at. If you have questions, comment down below. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.